Welcome to another episode of Unzip, Reboot and Leave podcast. This is Gautam Boshak. Today we have someone who is a lawyer, an author, executive coach, motivational speaker, and someone personally I know who is an industrial hemp, none other than Charles Kovess. How are you, Charles?
Hello, Gautam. Wonderful to be with you and to put myself under cross-examination by you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, Charles. Okay, so I know you last 10 years or so, and always I hear and you put yourself out as a passion provocateur. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yes, I am Australasia's passion provocateur, and I was a lawyer for 20 years, and for 31 years I have been a passion provocateur. So, in simple terms, I provoke people to discover their passion and to pursue their passion. So, so everyone has passion. And my definition of passion, it's from my book, my first book, Passionate People Produce. I've got a copy of that. Here
Yep,
it is, Passionate People Produce.
yep.
That's had four editions. The first edition was 1997, so 28 years ago. And then my second book was first published in 2000 is Passionate Performance. So passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, from your spirit, from your heart that enables you to produce extraordinary results. Okay, so it's a spiritual thing, not a mental thing. And a passion provocateur, what I do is I provoke people to be willing to look in here into their soul, their spirit, their heart, to say, what am I truly passionate about? And very few people are doing what they're passionate about, Gotham. This is the tragedy. This is why 32 years ago in 1993, I gave away a very successful legal career to do this work because it is my view that if I've got passion, it's a source of unlimited energy that if I could provoke Australians and people all around the world to do what they're passionate about, the world would be a better place. And just think about this. What is GDP? GDP is gross domestic product. Australia's gross domestic product depends on people. India's gross domestic product depends on people. Being productive. How are we productive? The answer is we need energy. Without energy, you cannot be productive. Now, what part of your body uses the most energy? The answer is your mind, your brain. Okay, so if you're passionate, if you're doing what you're passionate about, from universe, it comes through your soul, you have unlimited energy. And guess if everyone's got huge amounts of energy, then the GDP of a nation must go up. And so,
Wow.
as a passion provocateur, I paint this picture for people to say the distinction between most people and passionate people. It is much, much better to be passionate, and therefore I provoke people to pursue their passion. Another way to look at this is to think of me as a mental laxative. I unblock constipated thinking, constipated behavior, constipated spiritual behaviors. All right, so that's literally what I'm doing. It's the best way to think of it, and I want to shock people out of doing what they've always done because that's what they've always done. And as you know, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Wow. Okay. So if I go a little deeper into that, because I have been to your lectures a couple of times, is there like you talk through it, or you have a questionnaire, or you have uh, like a discussion, a group discussion? How you normally go about it?
So I do this in three ways. I do one-on-one executive coaching. Secondly, I do speeches at conferences, 1 hour, 2 hours, or I've often run a full day workshop. In fact, I did a full day seminar in Chennai to 900 people some years ago on this question of discovering passion. It was a team building program. Or or I take a team and work with that team for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Or I have also worked with teams over the course of 12 months. So we go on a long-term journey. And what's remarkable, what's remarkable is that people have to do the work, because you say, well, how do I work? How do I know what my passion is? Well, I help people to understand that. I've got 17 steps to discover your passion, and I'm happy to share that with people if they want. If they want to send an email, I can share that with you, and you can share it with people. But where it leads of is just is these 17 steps are really very specific questions extracted from this book, Passionate People Produce, to help people realize. And one of the tools that I use is I take people on a meditation exercise. So I mean, it depends on how much time I've got, because I can either tell people in the course of a speech, or if we've got 1 or 2 days, then we can go deeper, as you say, we go deeper and we do a meditation. And you think about this. You go on a deep meditation, think about your whole life, and think about the best experiences of your life and the worst experiences of your life. And you think of a T bar graph, right? So from when you're born horizontally to now, and then you plot on that up positive, neutral, negative experiences, where you would put them. Losing parents, negative experience. Or maybe losing a parent was a positive experience because the parent was abusing you. Winning lots of money, making lots of money, losing money, being in a very bad job. And so it's seeing on this graph that then gives a clue to say, gosh, why was that a positive experience or a negative experience? And that is one tool that I use to help people understand, gosh, that could be what I'm passionate about. Now, the exciting thing is that in my experience, most people generally know what they're passionate about. And you say, why aren't they pursuing their passion? And we sit down there and we go through what stops people from pursuing their passion or living their lives in passionate ways. And that often happens in a big company. All right. Someone gets a new job at a big company. They're excited about this new job. 3 months later, they are feeling very unhappy about the job. You go, why is that? And the answer is because of the human interaction that has happened in that company. It's the quality of leadership in that company. Because I don't know many people, I haven't met many people in my life who get a new job who are not excited about the new job. Right? They go, hey, they're attracted to the new job. And 3 to 6 months into the new job, they're very unhappy because they made a very bad decision because of the people issues related to that role. And I teach people to take personal responsibility for their lives. Stop living life by blaming anybody else for your experience. And then what that leads to is in companies, more people speak the truth, you see, because they're passionate about what they want to do. And then because passion comes from your heart, from your soul, when you are passionate, it gives you access to courage. Now, I want you to think about courage, right? So, being an entrepreneur requires courage. It is my view that courage is the number one capability of the world's top leaders. And so, when you are passionate, that comes from your heart. Courage also comes from your heart. You see, the word courage comes from the French word cœur, meaning heart, which comes from the Latin word cor, heart. So when you access from here, you've got courage, because where does fear come from? Fear comes from your mind, right? So here's the test. Are we driven by fear or by passion? And when people are passionate, then they will speak the truth. And there's a wonderful line in the Christian Bible: the truth shall set you free. And I have found this to be true in companies I have worked with. You see, if you're a leader and you're making decisions, but you don't know the truth of what is happening because the people won't speak the truth, because the people are scared of losing their jobs for speaking the truth, then the leader actually doesn't know what to do. Let me give you an example of that. You come to me, okay, in my executive coaching, and you say, I've got a problem. And I say, what's the problem? You say, I have to get to Darwin. Good. Where are you? And you say to me, I'm in Melbourne. But actually, you're telling me a lie because you're in Perth. Where are you at? Okay, you say you're in Melbourne, but you're actually in Perth. Your problem is you've got to get to Darwin, but you haven't given me the truth. And many leaders are trying to make decisions in companies where they are not given the truth. And when employees are passionate, they have got the courage to speak the truth. So that's the way that I implement it in the workplace, individually, executive coaching, I provoke people to be passionate. And secondly, I provoke people to take personal responsibility for their lives. Stop blaming anybody for what happens to your life.
Nice. So basically, as you said, like this, or inspiration, this passion, this emotional connection. So there will be no need to balance between fun and work. Everything is like become blurred, right?
Very good. That's correct. When you're passionate about your work, you will never work another day in your life.
Yes. Now I like left job 10 years, more than 10 years now, 10 years ago. And
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm happy. I'm in a happy place that way.
I must say, Gautam, you look happy.
Yeah, yeah. No doubt about that.
Hmm.
But this dichotomy or this, what I wanted to, I couldn't learn how to do a job. Okay. And when I look back all the time, it because of the people around me, not because of my skill, not because of my what I know, not because of my interest to learn more. It's always people around me. Sometimes because you are in a really low in the hierarchy, the food chain, you have you are not in a situation at all to speak up or even to speak the truth. And if the environment is really conservative, which I faced few times I faced really liberating open environment. How in a lower food chain people, because now the environment is very insecure outside, a lot of people losing their job, how they like, stick to their truth, stick to what they really want in that environment.
Well, two things. Number one, it is my experience, and I've been in business now, Gautam, for 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started when I was 12. I
Right.
was I was a commission debt collector. Every business leader is looking for good people. Every business leader I speak to says it's very difficult to find good people. I don't agree it's a tough environment. I do not agree. It is my view that most people do not approach companies and tell them that they're passionate about the work that they want to do. All they're doing is responding to advertisements. It is not true that it is a tough environment, because if you check from the people you talk to, are you willing to employ really good people? Every single sensible business leader would say, of course. So here's the question: how do you find good people? Because if you listen to interviews all the time, business leaders are saying, I don't believe it that there are unemployed out there because I can't find good people. Now, how do you find a good job? How do you find a great job? I have 5 steps, Gotham, and this is very important for people watching this podcast because these 5 steps apply globally. Number one, understand that there is a skills shortage. Everywhere you look, business leaders saying there's a skills shortage. They haven't got these skills. Well, number one, because there's a skills shortage, every company is looking for great people. Step number two is to decide your passion and where you want to work. Okay? You have to make that decision. Say, I'm passionate about this. Now, people come to me and they say, I'm looking for a job. I can't help you because you have to decide the job that you want to do. Number three, all around the world, between 60 and 70% of all jobs are filled through networking. Now, why is that? Gautam, you've been in the employment marketplace. Why are 60 to 70% of jobs filled through advertising? Because it's so difficult to work out who is good through the interview process. Correct? So, personal recommendation is very powerful. Because remember, the companies are looking for skills people. Number two, decide where you want to apply your passion and your skill. Number three, the jobs are filled through networks because it's so hard to work out who's good. And the two ideas to compare are attitude and skill. So if I'm employing you, should I employ you based on your attitude or your skill? Now, in Australia, most companies pick people based on one of these two. What do you think it is? I'm going to ask you the question now. Is it attitude or skill?
I personally will go for attitude.
No, no, I didn't ask you. I asked you, what do
Uh,
most companies do?
Skill or
Correct.
experience.
They look at the CV to see what skills you have.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The top quartile companies, what do they primarily pick on? What you would do, attitude.
Yeah. And the thing is, like when you want to show your attitude, typically this corporate setup, most of the people they don't have awareness or understanding or time or bandwidth
Correct.
to go to that attitude level also.
That's why they use a network. They haven't got the time. Because you got a better chance of selecting people with good attitude.
Yep.
Number four, you therefore must use your network to find your new job. Now, think about how easy that is these days, right? Everyone's got email, everyone's on LinkedIn. If someone's looking for a job, you say, I'm looking for a job in the telecom industry and this is what I want to do. And you tell your network, I'm looking for a job in this space, in this industry, for this role. And you give people three choices. I want to, or ideally a company, I'm looking for a job at Telstra, I'm looking for a job at Colgate Palmolive, I'm looking for a job at a pharmaceutical company. Okay? And you tell your network, that's step number four. You don't tell them I'm looking for a job. That's a bullshit proposition. That's weak. That's lazy. That's a bad attitude. Number five, step number five. If after 3 weeks your network hasn't come back to you with leads, you go back and ask again. I'm still looking for a job. One, two, three. Who's got a link? Because when you sent the first message out, people didn't see it. That's why advertising on radio is repetition, repetition, repetition. So here's the 5 steps. Number one, there's a skills shortage. Number two, decide where you want to apply your passion. Number three, understand that jobs are filled through networks. Number four, ask your network to help you find a specific job. Number five, repeat. I say to you, there is no tight job market. Now, I'll give you another example. Most people, you see, this is the tragedy of humanity because most people haven't spent the time. That's why I did this work. That's why I left my profitable legal career to provoke people. Don't waste this gift of life doing stuff you're not passionate about. I have to earn money. That's again bullshit.
Mhm.
You have to, and there's two issues to this passion question. You can either be passionate about your job, or you can be passionate about your children and your family, or sport. But let's take children and family. And parents. I'm passionate about looking after, providing for my family. Therefore, I will do anything for 60 hours a week to generate income to pursue my passion, which is to care for my family. Now, what happens, Gotham? I promise you what happens is this. When you make this link, when you go to work, you say, I'm going to work because this is feeding my family. It doesn't matter what you're doing, then you become passionate about whatever you're doing. Two sides, okay? You're either passionate about the work or you're passionate about what the work enables you to do. Another example of that is in sport. You might be passionate about competing at the Olympic Games, but to compete at the Olympic Games, you have to do 10 years of hard training. And the hard training is like work. The goal is looking after the family. The goal is the Olympic gold medal. And therefore, you say, I will work anywhere that suits my training times so I can train to pursue my dream. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Okay. Now, little aside of it, leadership. Okay. To you, and you talk about it all the time. Uh, what is leadership in front of you? And when these leadership things are coming, what kind of leadership will do good in the next cycle? The reason I said that, let's say the last cycle is a corporate cycle where conscientious people did better than openness people. Now, in creative side of things or in Silicon Valley, they talk about openness all the time. So, what is leadership and what kind of leadership will do in the next cycle?
Good.
Okay,
There
sorry,
are,
one more. I touched this because I personally very uh, like it's a very close to my heart topic, this personality. When I come across this, it just blow my mind.
hmm.
Anyway, up to you.
Yes, I did my first personality profile in 1986 when one of my clients, when I was practicing law, I was helping him protect the intellectual property related to that personality profile. So I understood it. I did the program. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, there are more than 1,000 leadership models. Over 1,000. You look at all the books, all these experts, all these Harvard professors, Stanford Business School, Oxford University. Okay? You can't about the current model. Again, I say bullshit. The reason why I say bullshit is because it doesn't matter what the model is. When you are leading human beings, you are leading weirdos. You are leading a group of weird people. And I use that not just unique people, because we've heard that over the years, but every person that a leader is leading is a weirdo. On top of that, you think about the complexity. You're married, aren't you?
Yes, two kids.
And I've got 5 kids. I've
Yep.
been successfully married 3 times, so I'm an
Yep.
expert in marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you look at the complexity of your one-on-one relationship with your wife, how complicated that is, okay? If you have a team of 10 people, just 10, leading 10 people, how many one-on-one relationships like you and your wife are there in a group of 10 people? How many?
None,
Yes,
maybe.
there are. Yeah. There's 45. 45 one-on-one relationships between your team members. 45.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are 10 team members. Each one of them has a relationship with 9 others. 10 times 9 is 90.
Okay, that way.
Right?
Yep.
You divide by two because so there's one-on-one relationship. And then when you and I are getting along well and there's a third person in the team who comes along, that's a three-way relationship. The answer is there's factorial 10 relationships. Amazing set of you've got 10 people together, then you've got nine people together, of course, but there's 10 different varieties of the nine people. That's how you get factorial 10. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. You've got 10 weirdos, you've got all these relationships going on. You're a leader. So you go, how do I get these people to function well together? And the answer is number one, you must treat people in a particular way, which I will touch on in a moment. Number two, the job of the leader is to create agreement among the 10 people about, and they all must agree about what they are building. Right? In other words, the clear vision of what this team is supposed to be doing. And I promise you that most teams I've worked with have no idea, no clear idea. Okay, so when a group of 10 people come together, you've got these weirdos, you've got all these complicated relationships. So then you say, well, what's the key to getting people to work well together? The answer is to be clear on what they're trying to build. Okay? So that's the vision. So the leader, I said, has to be courageous. Number one, courage. Number two, passion. Number three, vision. Now, that clarity, you get 10 human beings, all right, weirdos, you say, okay, let's build. Are we building a cathedral or a toilet block? Okay, and they agree, good. And when that is clear, then the job of the leader is to be like a parent and you apply the 80-20. So you pick your model of all the 1,000 leadership models, but the simple answer to cut through all of this crap is one word, and that is love. LOVE. And great leaders love their team members. And most corporates, you cannot talk about that. And that's why most corporates are not successful and most leadership is not successful. The corporate word to use is care. The leader has to demonstrate that he cares about the people who are working there. Now, the 80-20 rule applies. Okay? Like our children, being a great father. So, in my view, great leaders are like great parents, great mothers, great fathers. 80% of the time we love our kids, 20% of the time we discipline our kids. Okay? And you just imagine that picture of 10 people. This works for 1,000 people as well. Because, of course, if you're like GE had 300,000 employees, well, the leader, he's still only got 10 direct reports. But the leader creates the culture. And it's an important issue here because culture, if you've got a team of 10, so what's the culture in this team? Here's the rule on culture. People talk about culture. That's why you're referring to the culture of leadership these days. Most people are pathetic on what I'm talking to you. How do I know? Because less than 20% of people are passionate about their work. That is a total leadership failure. That's my point. Okay, so I have evidence about how bad the leadership is because good leaders unleash the passion of people. And the best example of that is one of the most successful companies on the planet. Which one was that, Gotham? Who am I talking about?
I don't know. Maybe Tesla
Apple,
or
Apple,
Apple. Yep.
Apple.
Okay.
Steve Jobs, okay?
Yes.
He absolutely unleashed, and he was a hard taskmaster. He was like he was like a world-class football team coach. If you didn't, he loved the players, but if you don't do what you're meant to do, you're out. That's what has to happen. Now, you can impose those rules when people are passionate about what they're wanting to build, when you've picked the people with the right attitude. You can't have that with people who say, I will contribute my best when I'm given a lot of money. That's the problem. And that's why employing the right people with the right attitude is so important. And the love discipline rule or the care discipline process. And leaders who then, when you focus on the vision, right, because there's a beautiful line in the Bible that says, without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, any team breaks down. And so you create this space with a bunch of weirdos. You care about them. They know you care about them. You get them passionate about what we're trying to build. Magic happens.
Right. That means what? You are talking that in leadership, managing people is one of the main task, or that is the task.
It is the most important task
Right.
because a leader is not the doer. The leader doesn't do the stuff. It's the people in the team who do the stuff. That's why they're called a leader.
Right.
The leader, he or she has to create the environment that the team members have to be passionate about what they're doing. That's when you get real success. And people management is difficult because people are weirdos.
Okay. Now, typically in this engineering world, or typically in today's world, where a lot of uh, introverted or nerdish people who are not very good communicator are kind of taking the leadership role in good or bad way. Now, in many cases, that the lack of communication plays a massive role to stick as a team and all these things. In my case, what you are saying is communication also, if it is coming from passion, then it automatically becomes softer. If the passion, if the communication is coming from that ego of I have this skill, or I have this experience, or I have seen this before, it's always very transactional, and it's always very pushy. LOV is
Yes.
out of the window.
Or
What?
we'll use the care word. Caring about your people. No, that's out of fashion. You just give me the result. People will not give you the result if they don't feel you care about them. Now,
Yes.
this is you make a very good point. There are different personality types. You can be this great leader without being like me. You don't need to be like me. You don't because people everyone's a weirdo. Everybody demonstrates their passion differently. But guess what? I put to you that love and caring is deep in our DNA, deep in our genetic makeup. All human beings, unless they've been so badly damaged as children, understand what it means to love and care. And the job of in a big company, what I have found is that groups, sub teams, not it doesn't matter how big the company is. Most teams are not more than 100 people. All right. And so you can create a magical environment. I did a lot of work with the Commonwealth Bank. The team that I worked with of 200 people, they were the best performing team out of the 55,000 people in the Commonwealth Bank
Mm-hmm.
because I coached the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And he then, everyone was coming to the leader and saying, how did you do what you're doing? And that's what is possible. And Jack Welch talks about this, that's what's possible for every manager. You listen, if the CEO of a company is talking crap, you don't have to do crap at your level. And so this is where the courage comes in. You see, the leader of a particular team, he says, no, this boss wants us to get this result. Let's get this result. We don't have to do it. We don't have to behave like the rest of the company. We can create a magical team amongst the 10 of us to create a great experience. Another example of this is the public service in Victoria, right around Australia, in India. You can do this same thing in the public service. You don't have to behave like the leaders of any big enterprises. No, you don't have to copy them because many of them are hopeless at people management.
Okay. Now, little bit different topic. You are an industrial hemp. Okay. First time this term I heard from you, maybe 9, 10 years ago. Please elaborate and how you got into it. When I first heard this, it was very fascinating to hear that story. So please do that
And it's
for
funny
my
you ask.
audience.
So I got into industrial hemp 12 and a half years ago, I got them. So
Mm-hmm.
your memory is very good. So I was talking about it with you 10 years ago. and
Yes.
I'm now the president of the peak industry body for industrial hemp in Australia. It's called the Australian Industrial Hemp Alliance. And I'm also an executive board member of the Federation of International Hemp Organizations all around the world. Hemp is cannabis. I am wearing a hemp t-shirt. I can wear my hemp t-shirt for 4 weeks, no wash, no smell. Hemp is going to transform Indian farmers, African farmers, Australian farmers. To picture industrial hemp, you picture, so hemp is cannabis, but industrial hemp is low level of the psychoactive drug THC, which is part of cannabis. But most industrial hemp has very little THC. Industrial hemp, you can make from this one plant that looks like bamboo. Right, so picture 3 meters, 4 meters high. It grows 3 to 4 meters high in 100 days from seed. And you cut down this plant and you process the plant, and you can make t-shirts. You can make food from the seed. You can make housing, medicine, fuel, fertilizer, replace fiberglass, so composite products, body care products, rope and string, and packaging products. The whole packaging industry can be made out of hemp, which is compostable, recyclable, and does not require chemicals to grow. And so there are over 25,000 different products that we can make from hemp, that human beings have been using hemp for over 8,000 years, primarily in Asia, China, Africa. And now I am working to make hemp a major industry and not a cottage industry. And the reason why you know nothing about hemp is because of politics, is because of the alleged war on drugs. And this is a fraud that has been perpetrated on humanity by politicians who have been influenced by industrialists who are more interested in synthetic materials, in nylon, in steel. Hemp can make amazing, as I say, 25 to 50,000 different products. It's the most extraordinary plant given to humanity by God, by the universe, whatever you believe in. And in my role in hemp, I am unleashing hemp on the planet, and that enables a village in India. If you look at a small village of 200 people, if those farmers all grow hemp, they don't need chemicals, their input costs go down, and literally they can produce food, clothing, shelter for themselves in their community. And a nation can do the same thing. I'm working with countries in Africa, Zimbabwe in particular, where if the farmers grow hemp, it can not, they say, where are we going to export to? No, you don't have to export. What you do is you replace imports, because replacing an import is as good as an export, because then you don't use foreign exchange to send out. And so get this, I have the list of Zimbabwe's top 10 imports. All right. The 10 biggest imports that come into Zimbabwe, 7 of those 10 can be replaced by hemp grown in Zimbabwe. Same thing in India. And so I am in hemp because hemp will enable farmers, small farms, to be successful and profitable and sustainable. And then that creates amazing energy for a nation, for India in particular, and for Africa.
Wow, that's a great initiative. Yes, I heard you talking about it, and first time when I heard that you are wearing that one of those t-shirts,
Mm.
and you mentioned that I'm not, I haven't washed it for last 1 week or so. because
Correct.
it generates some
It's a
bacteria by itself.
natural antibacterial.
Yeah.
So when we sweat, when we perspire, all right, the sweat doesn't smell, but the bacteria that grows on the sweat is what causes the smell. But when you wear hemp, the bacteria doesn't grow, so there's no smell.
Wow. Okay. All right. Another thing, which is you are Hungarian by birth, and I don't know the term, but because Hungary, if I recall correctly, but please, I mean, you can correct it. There was no Hungarian consulate here in Australia, so whenever Hungarian political people or the bureaucrat used to come, you used to go and help them.
That's correct.
So
That's correct,
please
sir.
tell. It's a very different story.
Yes. Certainly different to the Indian situation of the embassy. So Hungary has an embassy in Australia at the moment, but there's no consulate. And I'm the president of the Australia-Hungary Chamber of Commerce. My parents were both Hungarian refugees to Australia in 1949. I was born in Australia, but I speak fluent Hungarian.
Right.
And so I have been promoting business between Australia and Hungary and Central Europe.
Okay.
So I
Mhm.
get so to give you an idea of the opportunities for Australian business, by the way, India and Hungary have some very interesting ties. And right now, the Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, is holidaying in India.
Mhm.
But there's some quite historical from the 6th, 7th, 8th century back, long, long history of these relationships. So the links that I'm being oversee, I became president of this association in 1991, and I have been working with the Hungarian community, and also when the Hungarian presidents come, two, three presidents have come to Australia that I have helped their visits. And then, so there's a trade consul for Hungary, sometimes there's not. There's always been an embassy in Canberra, but the embassy doesn't do much to do with business. So that's what I do. And so, one idea I want to put into your viewers' heads is this: in Central Europe, not Eastern Europe, there's Western Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe. So that then includes Russia, Belarus, Romania. But Central Europe, there's a Visegrad four nations: Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, right in the heart of Europe. Those four nations occupy an area that is two-thirds the size of New South Wales. Okay? Four nations, two-thirds, and there are 65 million people in that area. 65. Very homogenous, very similar. Hungary by itself has 10 million people. So when I talk to people about Hungary as a market, I'm also including the Visegrad 4 as a market of 65 million people. Now, another benefit. One of Hungary's neighbours is Slovenia. Gotham, why is that particularly important these days? Slovenia.
No idea.
Because who is the wife of Donald Trump?
Oh, okay. She's Slovenian. Oh, okay. Makes
Okay,
sense. Makes sense.
correct,
Right. So
correct.
like Central Europe is kind of coming up with their leadership to the bigger
Well,
stage.
Central Europe, Budapest is voted as the second most beautiful city in Europe, so it's not backward at all. What I'm
Oh,
saying is the growth opportunities now are not in Western Europe, but in Central Europe and heading east.
right, right.
In my opinion, Central Western Europe is is in big trouble because I say to you, my view is that there is no climate emergency, there is no carbon dioxide emergency. What we have an environmental emergency of pollution, of chemicalization of soil. Indian farmers have had their soil destroyed by Monsanto with putting their chemicals and pesticides and genetically modified seeds. And what we have to do is to work on cleaning up our planet, and hemp also helps to clean up the planet. And my vision is that Hungary will become the center of hemp for Europe. And already it's grown in Europe, but it will become bigger and bigger. So that's very exciting. And I want India to be very big in hemp because I want Indian farmers and their village communities to succeed and then have electricity. And I think I told you there's 320,000 villages in India that do not have electricity.
Right. Okay. Oh, okay. You are also Olympic water polo referee.
Correct.
Please tell something on that. Any funny example or any,
Yes, look, I've been involved in sport all my life.
you are a triathlon.
Yes, I've been competing in triathlons for 39 years as well.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
went I went to the LA Olympics in 1984 as a referee. I was a member of the Australian women's water polo team, where women's water polo was a demonstration sport. And I was chairman of Victorian water polo. I played state league water polo for many years. And that was because of my Hungarian background, because Hungary is the most successful nation in water polo in the Olympics of all time.
Okay.
Okay. And so that water polo background is almost genetic in me. So I was a swimmer from the age of 10. So I've done a lot of I've done a lot of swimming, and one of the things I would recommend to people is to have your children do swimming and do swimming in a swimming squad. Why? Because being in a swim squad of boys and girls, guess what happens? You are almost naked in a swimming pool with people from the opposite sex. You get very comfortable with dealing with people of the opposite sex because they're your swimming buddies. And I recommend it to people. It's a wonderful social experience to be in a swimming squad. And
Right.
so I was a swimmer, played water polo, chairman, I refereed, and so it was a wonderful experience. And indeed, my links to water polo continue because in November each year, the water polo community has a wonderful golf tournament at Bonville Golf Resort at Coffs Harbour in New South Wales. And so some anywhere between 100 and 120 people from all around Australia and internationally come to Coffs Harbour and play 3 days of golf and build relationships amongst the community. So that's one of the key things to do in any community is to build relationships because that's how the magic happens.
Wow. Okay. So we are almost end of this thing, and we talked about many facets of your life. The last thing I would like to end is typical the passion related or a motivational speak. I'm asking to a motivational speaker basically. If someone feels uninspired or stuck, what is the first thing they will do, or what are the top three things they should start doing now?
Good. So being stuck is really problematic, and what they need to do if they are stuck is to get help. That's the best thing to do. That's why the world's top sportsmen have coaches, because even though they're the best, they still have coach. So 90% of people need support. I'll give you a story quickly. Thousands of American heart patients after operations on their heart were told, you must get fit and lose weight, otherwise you will die. 75,000 heart patients. This was an experiment done. And they were all told, you will die if you don't follow this. They all agreed. After 1 year, what percentage of the 75,000 had lost weight and got fitter?
Significant, I guess.
No, 10%.
Oh, the other way around. Okay.
Even when death is the consequence, only 10% of people took action.
Yeah.
And so the one of the doctors, what he did is what I teach. He said to the patients, you must come to the hospital twice a week and do an exercise session at the hospital, and we're going to check your weight. And 80% of them succeeded because they had support. They had a process that helps people do what they know they should do, but they're unable to do themselves. Only 10% of people are able to motivate themselves. 90% of people need support. So my number one advice is find someone to help you to change, to get unstuck. The second question is, do you really want to get unstuck? People say they want to,
but they
but
don't
they
want
don't.
to. Yep.
And so if someone doesn't passionately want to change, I don't work with them. I can't help people who don't want to change. No one can help anyone who doesn't want to change. Think of the criminals in this world. Think of drug addicts in this world. You have to want to do it. And then the third, all right, so the first thing is get support. Second is get the desire. The third is to then get inspiration, and that is to read books or watch videos. Do not watch the news. You read books, watch videos, listen to podcasts like this that inspire you, not depress you. And we need, particularly when you're stuck, we need the constant repetition of inspirational stories. And what I have found is that if you are not feeding your mind with good material, you will remain stuck. So that's my advice.
Wow. On that, if as everybody know, if you want to lead your life in your own terms, this is the right place for you. This is URL Unzip Reboot Leave podcast. Thank you, Charles. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gautam. Lovely to be with you. Congratulations on your podcast.
Thank you.